Ben Shapiro is writing for his community, like the Jewish community, Israel, stuff like that. That's what they were beefing over. And so he has pride in his community, but that's what I'm saying. Candace Owens doesn't with the black community. So Ben Shapiro has no problem criticizing the black community. He has no problem criticizing other communities. But when it comes to his community, he's willing to mess up a business relationship with Candace Owens, standing up for it. But Candace Owens, I don't think is as principled when it comes to the black community in the same way that Ben Shapiro is when it comes to the Jewish community and things like that. And so that's what I think the difference is between Candace and Dr. Umar. Dr. Umar is principled in the black community and centered around that, whereas Candace Owens is principled around more Donald Trump, the conservative movement, things like that. But I'll play this. Let me know if you can hear it.
And then the question was about Candace Owens. I think her behavior during this is disgraceful. Without a doubt. I think she's been absolutely disgraceful. I think that her faux sophistication on these particular issues has been ridiculous. It's not faux sophistication, it's ridiculous. Everybody can see the moves that she's making and the things that she's saying, and I find them disrespectful.
You have been.
So to put that in context, right? Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens work for the same company. Ben Shapiro co-founded the Daily Wire, which they both work for. That is like that was a private event, it looked like, where people are asking questions about Candace Owens, and he's calling her out essentially. Now, do I think that Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens that I'm trying to find a way to word this. I think that Ben Shapiro put his community above the business side of it. And I think he did the right thing. I think he did the right thing by sticking to his principles. But I don't see those principles in Candace Owens when it comes to the black community. Do you think that black people are in the position to be marrying other groups of people when we're not principled enough ourselves to value the black community?
Let me ask you this. Do you think Ben Shapiro would have done that if he didn't get the community support that he receives from his community?
No, I don't. I don't think he would have done that, but I think that he understands, like he's more principled in his community. So he knows is
he principled though? Because then you have to look at the other side of the coin. Is that a move financially to make more money? Because it can look like on the surface that he's principled, he's for the community and all those things, but in reality, he could give two damns less. He could just be doing it for the money.
No, I don't think he's doing it for the money, because he did lose some conservative support over this issue. Not just Candace Owens, but there was issues within the Republican Party, conservative movement, where he did lose a lot of support from people for his perspectives on the overseas issue. And he actually practices the religion and things like that. So he's not just doing it for show. He actually believes those things. And I think he's just standing up for them in the same way that, I think he should be. I don't see Candace Owens ever doing that. I don't see there being a situation where black people are disrespected by a Ben Shapiro or someone conservative, and Candace Owens stands up for them like that.
Why should she if she don't have the support?
Principles. It's like if somebody, just because you don't have the support from the black community, I think you can still stand up for what's right. Like there.
Then what are you fighting for?
Huh?
What are you fighting for then?
I would argue that she's more so fighting for conservative thought instead of black people. So that's why I don't think that she's for black people like that. I think she says a lot of things that can help black people, but I don't think that that's her goal.
Well, I don't know if she's ever come out and said she was pro-black or any of those things, because the world she lives in, right? But doing an analysis of the black community right now, right? Would you sacrifice what you have for the right now or in the future for the Black community?
What do you mean by sacrifice?
Would you stick your neck out for the Black community? If the Black community is being disrespected in any type of way, you know, whatever scenario you want to give, would you stick your neck out for the Black community?
If it was something that I actually believed, like if I'm like, am I gonna go out of my way to go to a George Floyd protest and get in a fight with somebody, end up in jail? No, because that's not really helping. But if for instance I'm in a situation where it's like, you know, I'm doing a business deal with somebody and then they're like, oh, look at those dumb monkeys over there. I'm not gonna just be like, oh yeah, look at them and go along with it just for the money, if that's what you mean. But if it's something to where I feel like my impact and my voice would matter, then yeah. But I'm not gonna go against it. I think, you know, like there's sticking your neck out in line and then there's going against it. So I'm not gonna say something opposite just to get the money or whatever. Like the whole Black men being with Black women thing. I'm not gonna sit there and be like, oh, well, I don't believe that just so I can get the money. No, it's like, I think Black men should be with Black women. If that loses me money, so be it. But that's what I think. My perspective may change. And if it does change, then that's because I looked into it more and I have a different idea about it. But it's not because I was fearful or I didn't want to stick my neck out. So I kind of, I don't really stick my neck out. I'm not in a position to do that. And it's like, I just say what I think and I try to analyze situations.
Right.
But right now, I don't really think I don't think Black culture is worth saving. So I do a lot less sticking my neck out for it.
So then for
true.
me, Candace Owens not standing up for Black people. When I think about it in that way, in the logic that comes behind it, I don't see her as any less Black than the next person, because she never come out.
Black.
Well,
I don't want it to be less Black, and I don't think that Dr. Umar is more Black than.
We'll say pro-Black or Pan-African, right? And I don't think she's ever come out and said those things. So I'm not going to put that on her for her to stand up for Black people. Just like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan never wanted to be a role model for Black kids. He came out and said that.
Right. So it would be a fair assessment to say, you know, Michael Jordan doesn't do what he does for Black people, right?
Right.
So I think that's the same thing with Candace Owens. But Candace Owens doesn't do what she does for Black people.
Well, there's not a lot of. Again, this is me speaking maybe ignorantly because I don't have the statistics or data. You know, people are gonna come out and say that there's not a lot of Black people at her level or in that world. And if they are, then you know they're controlled by somebody else, and it's a circus.
So how is that relevant? That there's not a lot of Black people at her level. Like, what do you mean by that?
We can't place those expectations on her for her to stand up for Black people because there's no Black people in that world of the level that she's at in the political world. The ones that we have seen have been controlled by other people.
When I say stand up for Black people, I'm not talking about Black people at a high level. I'm talking about I'm not even saying stand up for Black people. I'm just saying her messaging and her intention is not to build the Black community and make the Black community stronger.
But why should it though? That's the question I'm asking. Why should it be with the Black community the way it is now? Why should that be her message?
Because even if the Black community is not where we want to be at, I think we get further by trying to make it more of what we would like to see instead of less of what we would like it to see. But also, I think that there's a difference between, you know, you being like, okay, I got my white husband, blah, 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 but then trying to make it seem like that's in the best interest of the Black community. That's where I think it's like, if she's just like, I don't really care about the Black community, it's never really done anything for me, I got this white man, cool. But then it's like, if you're taking a step further and being like, I'm for the Black community, I'm about building it, then absolutely you have to be challenged and called out on contradictions when those contradictions are made. If I start a restaurant and say that I'm about eating healthy food, but all of my stuff that has sweetener in it is high fructose corn syrup, call me out on it, because that needs to be addressed.